Good morning, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It is 6 a.m. Wow. Sorry I was unable to get over to makeup and wardrobe because I have to go and do adult things in a little bit. It's almost a 2-hour drive to Miami because of traffic. But I could not let go of all the grift, all the false sympathy, all the guys pulling their dicks in anticipation of how much of Charlie Kirk's audience they are going to somehow try to steal. It is a horrible day, the day of the assassination, for the right in general, because I don't believe in the term, but we'll use it because I'm not going to get into this shit with you fake conservatives. It was a horrible day. Didn't have to happen, but the eventuality is that it would happen. Okay. Now, for those of you on BitChute, the Jews did it, right? How they got to that point, that supposedly some airplane took off at the airport and turned off its radar. That was enough to incriminate the Israeli government, the Mossad, and in general, our favorite term, the Jews. So that's all I'm going to say about that one, with absolutely no evidence. The only evidence being that the bullets, I'm sorry, let's be specific, the casings, the shell cases, had etched into them various transsexual, go transsexual, go cheerleader type of shit. The etched bullet casing has become the purity banner of this particular group of space marines out there, the transsexual murder cult. That is what's on the bullets. And they'll say, well, Mossad's wily. And Mossad is wily, but they got a lot of shit going on. It is just, once again, opportunism. I have only passing Queens waved Mr. Kirk, been to a number of his events here in Palm Beach, and I can only comment on what I've seen there. I don't think he has the gallows humor. I think this would have been if they had killed Michael Knowles. Michael Knowles would have found this all kind of funny because different person. But to watch the Shapiros try to figure out how they can get the people out of it. My new favorite, who I didn't even really care about at all, but he's supposedly a big thing because of his Jew hate and dislike of Negroes, is Nick Fuentes. And he does the most self-serving first 5 minutes of a video I have ever seen. There was another guy, body language guy, who's like, I don't hate the Jews. Don't hate the Jews, but they did it. And the man comes from a pseudoscience we used to call, what was it called? Cold reading in the circus, back when we used to go to the circus. It was a cold read on people. Ask Penn Jillette how he does this guy. This guy does his show. But anyway, everybody's in it for themselves. It is the most antithetical thing to, I think, what the Kirk family would have wanted to see is how all these people who were sucking his dick on a daily basis, not that he was asking for it, but some of you don't realize how big Turning Point was. A lot of you don't realize how big Turning Point was. You see this little show he did where he would go out and go back and forth with these teenagers and shit. Well, when he started it, he was only, I think, 18 or 19 years old. When he started Turning Point, the original beginning, he was barely out of high school and met an older financier, and they put the thing together. He's in, I forget how many countries. And if you had to guess if it was some Semitic culture, I'd say the Palestinians would have been the ones doing the shooting because of his continued criticism of terrorism. But it was neither of them. It was an American-grown terrorist. They're going to get him if they don't already have him. He's part of a group of usual suspects. Nobody mentions that this is the same type of bullet etching that was done in a previous murder, right? There's only so many of those machines out there. If it's done by a machine, the machines leave marks, but we know that, so let's not kid ourselves. They're never going to stop because it was all done at one time, so you wouldn't have a variance. It was a 30-06 Mossberg rifle. It's not a Mauser. Mauser doesn't come in 30-06. That was a red herring. So it's either 30-06 Mauser, or it's what they would consider an 8 millimeter, which is a 7 by something millimeter Mauser rifle. Either way, it was a better choice for what they were doing than the AR, which means the guy could handle, he's a smaller guy, but he can handle a 30-06, which has a significant more blowback. Let's not care about that either. The point of the matter is this fella, Charlie Kirk, love him or hate him, was the real power behind the throne for the upcoming everybody in the Republican Party. If you have ever gone to a Turning Point event, if you've ever seen a Turning Point event, you will know that every Republican politician will give their left nut to get on that stage. Charlie does not spare the dollars when he puts on a show. It is full of people that are the who's who in the constellation of Republican America. Okay, he even had President Bukele of El Salvador. He had, I forget his name, the president of Argentina. He's had their own shows. Donald Trump is on it all the time. That's why when they're making this thing about Trump picking the body up with Air Force Two, it's not Air Force Two if the vice president's not flying on it, you idiots. Same as it's not Air Force One when the president's not flying on it. If the president is flying in a paper airplane, it's Air Force One. Otherwise, it's just got its regular military transport number. All right. He is an incredible loss to not just that movement, but to Christians everywhere, which was, I was happy getting all these back and forth since the murder from all kinds of Christians, because it's a very much Jesus Christ posed in a way, especially now that they're saying the Jews did it, right? So Charlie as Messiah, Charlie as leading light, Charlie as people being brought to Christ, all these things have occurred through the man, which they're going to tell you is not such a big deal. But I think if they looked at what he was really all about, and who knows what anybody's really all about, but I'll tell you what, he could have cashed in like Shapiro. He could have cashed in, Crowder doesn't really matter because he's always done his thing and he needed to be autonomous. He could have cashed in like Shapiro and Blaze and all these other shows. He could have done a number of things just for the gelt. Did not do them. And what they're going to do now is they're going to try to stick this Jew angle on it. It's not going to stick, but all those people that are not politically affiliated who don't like Jews in the first place are going to remember it, which is problematic for the Jews down the road, right? All just to try to, the reason it came up, of course, is because the Palestinians, Hamas, has been getting its ass kicked hard in the Gaza. So they know to appeal to the Americans because we're soft in the mind, right? That's, once again, not the point. I am not here to eulogize Kirk. I am here to point out that if you're watching anybody's video and it doesn't come from Turning Point and or President Trump and or a couple of other people who have known him a long time, everybody is tragically full of shit. And what can they do to separate the Turning Point people, aka the dollars? It's always about the dollars, as they would tell you in Vegas, and put them in their pocket. The Republican Party without Trump, which was why it was important to kill him the first time, which they failed on. Charlie Kirk runs straight out the only viable youth movement that could possibly save us from socialism. That's how strong Turning Point is. From the teens to the late 20s and maybe even early 30s, that is the group. He makes it fun for them to be involved. When you have an event, most of the young people you see there are working for Kirk. They're interning. I did an interview with some of them, I guess, a year or so ago. They were coming to Palm Beach, not that any of you know geography, to Palm Beach from Missouri on their own dime to work the show and to meet their friends because they all talk online. Kirk sets them up in dormitory style thing with, whatever, security guard at the end so the boys and girls don't get in trouble or nobody messes with the boys and girls from the outside, which is a big problem, right? Why not murder the future voters of America, which is what your left-wing pals would be thinking. So losing a person who was grounded in Christian identity, which also gives you, Mosaic law, I guess, to some extent, and who would put himself out there. If you noticed when he did get shot, and I've seen him before this, he doesn't wear a vest. You are within, I'd say, 6 to 8 feet of him. He sits, he could be handing out t-shirts, which he does, hands out hats and stuff. Anybody who was really dedicated to doing it could have reached over and grabbed him if he stands up. That's why you usually see him sit back. Okay. And the shot came out. I thought it was somebody in the front because there's no metal detector there. There are security guards. Don't know who they are. They probably should be pretty good. But whoever was in charge of sweeping the area and setting that tent up wasn't too goddamn good. He's going to go back to work in Alaska with the whoever Secret Service agents that let Reagan get shot, right? And that's balls. That is totally a ballsy move. That is faith in something greater than yourself. That one of these savages isn't going to have the guts to fucking shoot or stab or drop a grenade or whatever they're up to now. Because the wave of terror has begun. It began with Trump. It is not going to go away until you start smacking people's noses with the newspaper. So those of you who are profoundly affected by the death of Mr. Kirk, my condolences. Do not give up whatever you were doing beforehand because that's why they killed him. Look at the civil rights movement. You killed King and it fell apart. Do you want to be like that? Do you want to be what the American civil rights movement is today? If you do not want to be that person, then you would best adhere to the principles that you were given, which is also to be critical and have your own mind. So we'll see what happens. And like I said, by the way, oh, fuck Nick Fuentes again. What an asshole. You watch the thing and it's all about him. You want to do a thing. I don't have my guy anymore. He's working somewhere else. Do a remote, and you can do this yourself. Learn there are a certain amount of schools of psychological testing. And then put it into one of the better AI systems. You need to deep dive if you have ChatGPT. And then put in X amount of videos from Nick, our boy Nick, and you're going to be very interested because we did it a while ago. No, we don't have any interest in sitting there just exposing these guys because you'd be there all fucking day doing it. But the right's working in the same way the woke does, which is they know to smear the Jews. They know to say that you love the Jews. They are big on picking on minorities. The minorities know what's wrong and the blacks know what's wrong in the black community. You don't have to point it the fuck out. All right. They know. What can they do is a different story. You can make suggestions, but if you tell somebody in any of these communities, even if it's the Inuit community, there is going to be an asshole, even if you're teaching somebody how to cure cancer, who's going to say, oh, you're sucking up to that white guy pretty much there, Nanook. I guess you're just in his pocket. You're his bitch. And then Nanook will not solve cancer, and cancer will continue to eat the community. That is minority politics in America, probably most other places. So you just said to be out there and keep showing it for what it is. Try to be a good Christian if you're a Christian, if possible. Try to be a good whatever if you have to. And that's about it. Like I said, it's not clickbait. It's a commentary on the people that are out there. You'll see all these videos about the assassination. They have nothing. They have nothing. You should look at the parallels with the etching of the bullets, with the other shooting that had the etching of the bullets, with the transsexual murder cult that they broke up, with the transsexual rights gun training that was offered and still being offered. Not that you want to cancel anyone's Second Amendment rights, but if you are running a terrorist camp, it's against the law. If you're teaching people murder techniques, it's probably against the law. Remember everything with the militia groups where they had to crack down on them? These guys were doing nothing compared to what's going on out there today. And yet, where are they all today, right? Shot dead, put in jail for 1,000 years for like postage fraud or some nonsense. But that's what I'm saying. Charlie is going to leave a hole in the Republican Party that is not going to be able to be patched anytime soon. And everybody who is a grifter is going to be grabbing at it. And when they show you stuff with Trump, Trump is not doing it as a grift. He had a genuine, from what I understand from people who have been around, genuine affection for Kirk. He saw Kirk as the future and not as a political rival, but as the only person out there trying to keep the cause going forward. It's cool to hate God. It's cool to cut your dick off. It's cool to do all these other things until 5 years from now. Ask a lot of people when they get stupid throat tattoos. Now they look like they're in a Mexican jailhouse gang. Ask those girls, hey, was that really worth it if they're still alive and not on meth? Was that really worth it? Nah, I really, it was too much. It was too much. And you get a lot of that. And that's remorse, and that's a remorse you can come back from. Once you've decided to join a terrorist organization and are actively plotting the deaths of people, it's a little hard to come back from that one. So I suggest those of you who are laughing about this, which I saw they had a party somewhere around here where they're all jerking each other off about how great it was Charlie Kirk was dead. The nice thing was none of you guys had the balls to do it. You are once again living as spectators in somebody else's world. You are batteries, as they would say in the Matrix. You're nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was a guy who built an entire international community on his own back. And you guys can get together for a party and a series of hand jobs, I guess, to get each other going on the fact that somebody's been murdered, and you're showing the video, the full video of him taking that round. Something wrong with you. That's the kind of shit that I used to get out of the Hamas people. That's murder porn. You have a defect in your mind. It's time for you to think about the reality of your future. And that's all you can do about it, right? You got to watch your back. I have a friend who was done very well in this industry, this stuff. And I said, what do you do? He goes, every day I can walk out the front door and I could be getting shot right in the fucking face. I don't know. And there's nothing I can do about it, so I don't talk about it. Right? That's how this game is played. So congratulations to Kirk for everything he did. Thanking him. Condolences to the family. Imagine you were there when that happened. That's going to freak you right the hell out. Being around killing is not an easy thing. So anyway, that's all for now. And talk to you over the weekend or on Monday or something like that. Got to go to work, do something useful. And that's it. Goodbye.